2, 1, 0.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday. No, it's not Thursday. It should be Thursday because these three guys are here. It's Monday. It's Monday Night Nerd. This is my show, but we've got these three guys. We've got JS. We've got Rob. We've got Jeff. We've got the Geeks Co in the house.
He's probably like, you've been a guest on our show so many times, you're probably just thinking, oh, hey, by the way, I must be a guest on the Geeks Co again.
Yeah, just sit there staring at JS. Go.
Yeah.
Apparently, it takes the Geeks Co to be on your show for you to actually go on time.
Oh,
ding!
Less than a minute in, and I'm getting the arrows thrown at me.
I mean, what is going on here? Tell me what's been happening.
Right off the
bat.
bat.
I can tell you right now, I can't see the video right now, but if the video quality is terrible, as always, I'm dealing with technical difficulties, and if I'm choppy as hell, I apologize. I live in a 102-year-old house, so the infrastructure and wiring and stuff is horrible in this, and we are bouncing off the Wi-Fi. And I apologize. If it's that bad, folks, the audio should be good. Just minimize and just listen to our beautiful, beautiful voices. And we'll be having a great night. Folks, we are here. We are here talking about cinematic multiverses, cinematic universes, and a whole lot more. How are you gentlemen doing this week?
Doing good for
everybody.
Monday.
Everybody, holy shit! Then we all talk at once.
You would
Which
think
one of
we
us
do this
heads is holding the brain today? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we've done this every week for the last 168 this week.
9 this week, yeah.
169 weeks.
Nice.
Wow.
Giggity.
No, it's been going good. Actually, I'm not actually going to be on the podcast this week. I have a work function that I have to be at. So these boys are going to be handling the podcast. I point over there because I'm usually on the other side. These boys are going to be handling the podcast. But yeah, the week's going good. Busy already. It's Monday, and I already feel like it should be Friday. So
one of those days, eh?
One of those days.
One of those days. Well, we're here to talk about cinematic multiverses, and if you're new to the show and you're fans of Geeks Co, and you've never seen my show, hi, my name is Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area. And this is my show. We talk about nerdy things like cosplay, wrestling, comics, movies, music, and a whole lot more. Usually we talk about the news first off, but because we got some guests and we love talking, we're not going to do some news this week. However, if you've ever been a geek, if you've ever been a guest on this podcast, you know that I usually send you guys a little bit of notes beforehand to give you guys an idea, to do some research and get ready for the show. However, there is something.
Hey, did you guys do some research?
I'm sorry. Somebody made a comment on your show. Somebody made a comment on your show about wanting to prep. So I sent you questions.
You've seen our show. Right,
I'm
we just
aware.
said 168
That's why I sent
episodes.
Because it shocked me.
Crystal, I'm literally going to the thread he's talking about and reading probably for the first time the prep stuff he gave us. I'm like, shit, I guess I should look at this now.
I'm pulling up ChatGPT.
Yeah. Christ.
We run a tight ship here, folks. Anyways, right. I usually send everybody just a little bit of notes, get them ready. However, there was one thing that I wanted to do first before we get into the main topic, because I think this is really important. If you've never seen the Geeks Co show, the Geek Boutique podcast, what are you doing? What rock are you living under? Thursday night here on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. They have usually done a similar style like I have. I completely stole it from you guys, where you usually pick a topic and talk about it. But this week and going forward, you've switched your layout, and it's now going to be little sections. Newsy stuff, things that are going on in the cosplay community, etc. One of the segments you guys have introduced is a cosplay spotlight. And I wanted to give you guys a round of applause and some flowers for your first cosplay shout out, because it is something that I think proves your mission statement that you've said multiple times without a doubt. And your mission statement has always been to build the cosplay community. And if you did not see the Geeks & Co. episode this week or last week, the first cosplay shout out that they gave was to our buddy Andre. And if you don't know Andre and you're in the Southern Ontario cosplay scene, you have run into him sooner or later. And
If you're in
not,
the Southern Ontario cosplay scene, you've seen Andre. I guarantee you've bumped into him.
And there are many cosplayers in the Southern Ontario area. There's many cosplayers that you guys probably know that are not in the Southern Ontario area. The fact that you picked Andre as your first cosplay shoutout, I believe deserves a large round of applause, because Andre does not have thousands of followers, does not have a platform where he boasts about how great of a cosplayer he is. If you go on Andre's Instagram, it is more pictures of other cosplayers and him supporting the cosplay community than anyone else. And the fact that you picked one person, probably the biggest person in the area, who supports the cosplay community and pretty much does it without question, and as you mentioned on your show, is at every con you could ever imagine. I still believe that he is the kid from Big Hero 6 that everyone doesn't really think anything about, and then they end up at his house, and like Stan Lee's his dad. And Andre, while not cosplaying, is working on a stock portfolio and is just the richest guy we don't know, and is just able to go to all of these cons because literally he's at everything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give you guys a shout out publicly, because that was really cool that you could have picked some big influencer or some guy who does a big Warhammer impressive cosplayer. And Andre does incredible cosplays. His Cyberpunk's great. His Riddler's incredible. But the fact that you guys picked him is a great choice. And I wanted to say that out loud, that you guys deserve a round of applause for that.
This guy down here, that's all on Rob the Bad Guy. We had bandied a name or two around, and he was like, "What about Andre?" And JS and I were both like immediately like, "Fuck,
like,
yes,
that's the first
exactly
one,
the guy to start with." So
and I appreciate that you
appreciate that.
And you're part of the Southern Ontario cosplay scene, right? So you get it, right? And you see it like we do, and cosplay embodies everything that we're about, right? And it's the cosplay community, and he's at every freaking event, like you're saying. He is always supporting other people. Andre, yeah, man. I can't wait to see what other cosplays he comes up in the next couple of years.
And I mentioned this on our show too. Andre's the type of brother just showed up to one of our events that we were doing, like the first cosplay in the district, maybe the second one. He just showed up, and I remember the three of us like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, nobody knew who he was. Like, it's not like he had a friend of a friend in a group or like a 6 degrees of separation.
He just came to hang out.
Caught the booth or caught the podcast, knew that we were doing it, and then just came, and then just stayed. And then we were like, this guy's fucking great. Like, he was so nice and so friendly and so generous with his time and his compliments, and he's 6'5", like, and he's hard to miss too. It's not like Andre's not going to show up to an event and you're just going to like smoke past him. Like, who is the tall basketball player looking dude over there? That's Andre. He's quiet, but he's this super nicest dude. That's what happens when you're a genuinely nice guy. Yeah, that would be Andre. It'd just be nice if we could go to an event where there's like a raffle or a draw and other people could win shit. Yeah. That would be cool.
Who's that guy walking out with all the prizes?
Yeah, that's the one thing I think.
That's the one takeaway from
Andre needs to stop playing and buying the raffles. You can't be stealing all the prizes all the time.
No, we got to.
You got to let other people win once in a while.
Yeah, I think we're gonna like have it like you can buy tickets for these two prizes, Andre, out of the whole prize table, and that's it, because we know you're gonna win them both anyway.
Yeah.
Fucking guy.
That would be pretty funny to limit his options and see the percentage of winnings he still gets.
Or people just have to buy more tickets, says Jennifer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mike and Geeks. What's going on, Bob? Good to see you. Yeah. Actually,
that
Rob
goes
and I have
back
to talk about this week. We have to figure out who the cosplay spotlight's going to be this week. We haven't discussed that yet. We'll have to throw that in our little podcast chat. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead. It's your podcast, and I'm rambling like it's mine.
No. That's perfectly fine. That just proves my point that he's probably buying all the tickets because he's got some giant stock portfolio that we don't know about. And
Andre is secretly really Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
you never see them together in the same location. So
Hey, I've never
makes
seen him
sense.
and Bruce Wayne at the same time in the same room. I can tell you that.
No. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's do a quick sponsor, and then we're heading into the main event, folks. If you're new here, the sponsor, as always, is my incredible, beautiful wife. I do this every single week because it is true. She is incredible. I would not be doing this if it wasn't for her. I would not be in this beautiful house. I would not have my beautiful animals downstairs. I love you, hun. You'll always be my sponsor. Even if somebody does give me a couple bucks, they will always be tier 2. You will always be tier 1. I love you, hun. All right. Now, main event. Folks, let's get into multiverses, cinematic universes, and a whole lot more. This is something that's been going on in our world, not cosplay, but comic books, for decades. Before any movie, comics were doing this back in the day. What can you guys think of the first time you saw a crossover in comics or pop culture before like the movie universes kicked off? Jeff, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, of course. The two first ones in comics, right? Marvel did Secret Wars, and then DC did Crisis on Infinite Earths. I was much more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. I knew Secret Wars, I knew what it was, but I was so deep into DC and what Crisis did. Like Crisis was in 85, I think.
Yeah.
And
Was
it's
it that
85 or
early?
86. Oh yeah, it's right around that time frame. And we're 40 years on, and there's still things happening in the DC Comics universe that's directly impacted from Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that was my introduction to the crossover style events, and I just ran with it from there, right? So, and then there's Hallmark things that came out along the way, like DC versus Marvel, Kingdom Come, things that were spanning across huge even universes at that point, that kind of got my juices flowing for like the possibilities. But if you'd have sat 1985 Jeff into a room and said, hey, in the year 2011 there's going to be a movie universe, it's going to bring all of the Avengers together and it's going to make a gobbiton $1 million at the box office, I'd have been like, fuck you, that's never happening. And here we are.
JS, what about you?
I think I might answer this a little bit differently here. I don't remember what the first crossover type event that I've ever seen. I know for sure it would have had to have been within Marvel. Either way, I like the universes where you can build upon different stories, where you can have people within the same world so that you can share crossovers and stories and adventures and so on and so forth, right? I am, on the other hand, not a huge fan of the multiverse thing. That's the new 52. The new 52 happened roughly at the same time as what was it on the Marvel side that happened around that era? Anyway, something happened over there as well. The whole multiverse thing, just like right now, right? Right now, the multiverse thing is massive in the cinema world, in the movie world. But this all happened years ago, back in the 2000s, in the comic book world, and that's kind of where it like broke me. That's where I kind of stopped reading comic books. It was like everything was changing. It was all the titles that I liked were gone, and then they were these new things that I didn't ask for, and it's like, so that's where I kind of stopped my comic book journey. If I'm 100% honest.
Ultimates? Are you talking about Ultimates on the Marvel side?
Was it Ultimates? It might have been Ultimates.
Yeah, it was a separate universe, and it was kind of a reimagining of all.
Oh yeah, and then they were completely different because they were. Yeah, listen. Yeah. The only one out of that came out that I really enjoyed was Ultimate Thor. That was cool. That new look was dope.
Which is funny because DC's doing it right now with their Absolute line.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, it's a retelling of all their key superheroes and such. And actually, it's the entire line just went to a second printing, so it's doing very, very, very well for DC. So, but yeah. Anyways, sorry. Continue.
Rob, what about you?
So I've said this many times. It should be no surprise to anybody. I wasn't a big comic book reader when I was younger, so I don't have any sort of. I'll be honest with you, my first kind of exposure to the whole idea was the multiverse was like very recently in what we're looking at now. But crossover events, this one's going to be really out there. Again, keeping in mind it's not MCU or DCU. First one that I could think of was the Muppets and Fraggle Rock crossover event.
Oh,
That's
that's a good one.
There.
Hell yeah.
I forgot about that.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So and that was obviously at a really young age, and that blew my mind. Like, they can do this? What's going on here, right? Like,
I'm so dumb. It's not even a comic book. It's, you know what it is? It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have been the biggest impactful crossover event that I remember from that time, from my youth. Having the Looney Tunes and the Disney cartoon character like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck interacting with Daffy and Bugs Bunny was completely blew my mind. I'm like, you can fucking do this?
yeah, exactly.
Why did we wait so long to do? And then they never did it again. It was just that one moment in time.
No.
Which, by the way, a little trivia fact for you guys: every single time that either one of the IP characters are on the screen, whether it's Disney or Warner Brothers for Looney Tunes, it had to be an equal amount of time for each.
Mm-hmm.
So if Donald was on, Daffy had to be on, and it had to be to the second for how long both characters had screen time, and it went all the way down the line for each of those two IPs.
Really?
For those yes, that was the only way they could make it so they were having both of them on the screen at the same time, as if it was equal screen time across. But oh my god, like that blew me so much. Fred Penner and Mr. Dressup. I don't even remember that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, reach
Deep
back
cut.
deep, you're gonna find some stuff other than the comic book world.
Damn.
I like when they go back, and I know we're going to talk about a franchise like this in a minute here, but when they go back and they later on not retcon but interconnect franchises that you had no idea were connected, or maybe there were fan theories. Because did you know? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start tonight. I'm not going to start tonight.
Oh, my internet's getting choppy.
Let's put the microphone away. Go for it, JS.
But yeah, I mean, I like when they do that. I like reading those theories of, oh, this franchise is interconnected with this because this happened and then this, and like the whole C-3PO and R2-D2 in well, codice questo non so. I can't believe I forget his name now. Indiana Jones. In Indiana Jones. You know, for me, always now said, okay, I know they're both Lucas. I get it. But now maybe Indiana Jones isn't from here. Maybe Indiana Jones is from a galaxy far, far away, but from an Earth in a galaxy far, far away.
Somebody stop him. This will be the whole.
But that's what not multiverses, but cinematic universes has enabled us to do, right? Is interconnect properties in things that you never would have imagined before, and then you can actually start playing off of those themes, right? Again, I don't want to spoil where we're going with this, but like this next one we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. Well, let's start with one that two of you have a lot of stakes in, especially JS, who one of the characters is right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
The AVP universe. So we've got 7 Alien movies up released. There are a couple new things coming along. We've got 5 Predator movies, and we've got 2 crossovers.
Mm-hmm.
Not a ton of those show the crossovers, like except for AVP and a couple references in Prey and the Alien or Predator 2. You see the xenomorph head? Is it 2 or 3?
Yeah, in the ship in
2,
Predator 2, in the ship that's under the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is not a franchise that a lot of people saw the crossover, except for just that little instance at the beginning. But then when the AVP movies came out, that's when everyone went, we can do this. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's something you should go forward with? Should we keep it separate? We have tried it with the AVP movies to varying degrees of success. Some people like the first one. Most hate the second. What are your thoughts?
I have so many thoughts, dude. You have no idea. If we're going to talk about this franchise, for one, I think it bears importance that a lot of people don't consider the AVP movies and Predators part of the Alien franchise at all. That is a multiverse thing, right? And that the Alien movies are the Alien movies, and the AVP movies and the Predator movies are something else. They're like an extension or an expansion pack, if you will. So they're not actually, for some people, are not part of canon. It's okay, but they're wrong. It's all one world. There's been too much of Wayland and the aliens themselves, and references. There's been too much on the Predator side for them not to be in the same universe. I mean, it's that simple for me. Should they keep it going? Yes. 100% they should keep it going. Actually, I believe it was Netflix developed a AVP3 animated. And then this was all just before the Disney buyout. And when Disney bought Fox, that got put on the back burner and shelved, and then that was never released. So Netflix has apparently a finished AVP3, whatever that one was going to be called, a new AVP animated movie, full feature length animated movie that never came out. So I want to see that fucking movie, and I'm totally for another one. Just don't make it like the second one, because the second AVP, like half of the movie, you can't see what the fuck is going on. So be better. But yes, 100%.
Rob?
Oh, let this guy talk now.
Can we restate the question?
Should they continue having it together, or should they stay separated? Should Alien be Alien, Predator be Predator, with just little references, or should they go together?
Like both. I do think they're both part of the one same universe. It's good to have both, obviously, standalone and crossover movies. I think a more important question for the moment is, what the fuck are they doing with the Prey line and Alien Romulus? Because they're both a little bit messing with origin stories and history and taking things in new directions. And I think it was it Prey that changed sort of the origin story, that kind of nullified what happened, the origin story they told in AVP, the first one.
Yeah, so in AVP, they were here during the ancient Egyptians, right? This was very clear in the marketing campaign that it's the first time a Predator comes here, but it's during like the French Revolution and not the French Revolution, but like colonialism time, right?
So did we fork with Prey here into a new a new universe? Is it like Pattinson's not part of the new DCU type of thing? It's its own thing. So to whether or not they should continue to keep doing it little bits or full on crossovers, like we also seem to have a third fork here now. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, I'd love to see them in the same universe. I think those are fun movies. They don't need to all be that way, but the option should still be there.
Jeff?
I feel like the juice has to be worth the squeeze because of and this has probably been watered down so much now with all the stuff that Marvel's doing, but like I remember when AVP was going to be a thing, and the hype surrounding it, that you're taking these two. I know you're a big wrestling guy, Myers. Like when the invasion angle happened, when WWF at the time bought WCW, and they ran that invasion angle, it from the outside, you're like, there's no way this isn't going to be the most incredible angle that's ever happened in wrestling. And it was terrible on so many different levels. Like you had it handed to you on a golden platter and you just couldn't execute it in such a way because the hype behind it was so huge, because everybody's just assumed, oh, now that this is finally happening, this is going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened. And it just wasn't. As Andre is putting it, dog shit, absolute dog shit, right? And then I feel like the AVP stuff was kind of the similar ways, but then you'll get something like Jason versus Freddy, right, where you're having these two worlds collide, and the juice is worth it. It wasn't a cinematic masterpiece, but it gave everybody exactly what they wanted from that film, right? Everybody wanted to see them fight at the end.
One of the better Jasons and Freddys.
This is what I'm saying, right? So as long as the execution is there, and like JS is talking about, the difference between the first AVP and the second AVP is miles apart. Not that the first AVP is some cinematic masterpiece either. At least it's fucking fun, right? Requiem is the hottest garbage. So it really does. It sounds so stupid, but it really does come down to the execution. And you have to make sure, if you're going to take these two giant things and bring them together in such a manner, you'd better get it right.
Yeah.
Because the expectations are going to be so high because you're taking two beloved things. How could you not make an amazing Alien versus Predator movie? Like, how could you? It should be the greatest piece of cinematic sci-fi action movie in the history of ever. And they're just not, because they weren't executed well. So have all your ducks in a row, then do it. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. Do it because it makes sense and you're going to do it right.
You hear that, executives?
That's what I'm saying.
You know what,
you're not wrong.
The number one main issue with the AVP movies? Well, you want to know what the one problem both of those movies have?
There's too many humans in it.
People. Just people. It should have been Alien versus Predators. Let's go hunting. And fighting hordes of freaking xenomorphs. You know what I mean? Like, show me that. Show me an army of predators fighting a freaking... Show me 300.
With predators.
But they're predators versus xenomorphs.
Oh,
that's
fuck. Get Hollywood on the phone right now. I got a mild chub just you saying that. What
that's what I want to see. I want 300.
I got a medium semi just picturing that in my mind. Can we have that, please?
It's funny that it's funny to kind of go off what you said, Jeff. It reminds me very much of the problem that we'll get into it in the next topic with Marvel with Blade. Like, how have you not been able to write a Blade movie, TV show, whatever? It's a vampire hunter and you've got 3 already. Like, it's the same with AVP.
There's 2. We don't talk about the third one.
Well,
yeah, I mean, do we
like,
really want to go there?
Woof.
I know this could become a giant talking point, but it's the same with AVP. Like you said, it's 2 franchises which have so much history and you could do so much with, but we got Requiem, and it's like, how do you fumble that bad?
That I want to blame that on the director.
I was thinking
I think that
probably
there was a big misstep in terms of the artistic vision of the movie itself is not that bad. It's the fact that you can't see any of the action, right? It's too fast. It's too dark. There's too much going on. Like, it's unwatchable, right? Like, you have a freaking pred alien, and you're not even going to show him to me? Like, are you serious? Like, I'm just going to have to pause it on my VHS tape to see him? Like, I know, it wasn't a VHS movie, but you know what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, that movie, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No.
I get it. It just blows my mind with the direction that they took with this movie, and I 100% blame it on the artistic direction. I don't understand why they went that route. It makes me feel like maybe they didn't have the VFX budget that they needed, so they figured, well, if we make it fast and dark and you can't see it, then it doesn't need to look good. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I can't say. All I know is that in itself, the movie wasn't horrible, other than, well, it was unwatchable.
No. Well, we know we've got a couple more on its way. I believe there's an Alien and a Predator movie being produced and directed and built right now. So we'll see what the future holds.
Romulus just came out.
Yeah, and Romulus just
by the way,
came out.
have you guys all watched Romulus?
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
I just checked it out. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, it's apparently very good.
I dug it.
I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
I have issues. Don't get me wrong. I think Prey is the better sort of film overall. I think, as far as those 2 franchises go, but Romulus is still it is still quite good. It's like I said, it's worth a watch. Yeah. There's a couple little janky things in there, and a couple little canon things. You're like, what? But overall, pretty darn good.
Well, if I understood this correctly, this is the same team, right? Like, the people. Like, Romulus was a Hulu. No, that was a theater release, actually. It wasn't a Hulu release like Prey was.
Prey was a Hulu release.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't the same team then behind the 2.
No, I don't think it was. But it definitely gets. You could tell it was really trying to make sure that it got back to the roots of it being more like a horror than anything else. And it has so many references, about the different things where you're like, oh, that's from that movie. Oh, that's from that one. No, that's from that one. And after a while, you're just like, oh, this is just like a greatest hits of all the. Anyways, we're not here to talk about Alien Romulus.
Which, okay, you already brought once you get towards one of the funds in the end, you're like, oh, that's from that movie. And you should not have done that.
That's right. Yeah. So, it's not the perfect film. But as far as like revitalizing that franchise in the way that Prey did with Predator, I think it did a good job of doing that. Now they talked to the director, Fade Alvarez. They're looking at doing a sequel to Romulus. So if it's moving those franchises forward, then that can only be good for us that are fans of that action sci-fi type franchises, right? So
100%.
And again, to go back to the whole multiverse thing, right? It's fantastic that we're able to have that option of getting the both on screen if they do ever decide to do another one. But even for the references, it's fun, right? Like you're watching some of the Predator movies and you see some of the references, and I love those things, those little Easter eggs. If you've seen our YouTube channel and you've watched any of the after shows that we do, specifically the Lower Decks after show that me and Jeff do, that show is littered with Easter eggs, and I fucking love that shit. So yeah, it's fun for that type of stuff. Now, let me ask everybody this. What if we had a Predator or an AVP multiverse? What if all of a sudden we had different Predators and different xenomorphs that look completely different, that are a completely new thing? And I know the xenomorph have always evolved over the different movies, and they've always looked a little bit different, but
that's what I was wondering. I was going to kind of ask you that, because you were so adamant that this is all happening in the same universe. But what if it was more like Predators are on a ship and he's got his little wrist guy out and he literally activates a portal, and that's a portal to another universe? This is how they've expanded the hunt. They've hunted all the top game in our galaxy. He hits a few buttons, a portal opens up, he walks through, or a band of them walk through, and then they're in a universe where xenomorphs exist and they go on a hunt. That's the evolution of their hunt to find the biggest game, not just in their own universe, but across universes. If you're going to do a multiverse AVP movie, that's what I would like to see. A universe hopping team of Predator badasses trying to find the biggest, baddest thing to kill in every universe. Right? I'd be down for that more than just assuming that they do coexist in the same universe. What universe would ever survive with both Predators and xenomorphs in it? That galaxy is on borrowed time, friends. Like,
yeah, I'm very interested to see where Earth takes this story. Yeah. Right? Where's alien Earth? Like, they're going to be here, right? There's going to be at least a xenomorph on Earth, from what I'm guessing, from what I'm seeing. So, you know,
and we've been talking about doing an after show, perhaps you and I, for that one. So we should
check it out.
About it more, perhaps.
Yeah. Is it out yet?
No. When it does come out.
Yeah, we should talk more about that. Keep your eyes open, folks, for a new after show on the Geeks Co YouTube channel.
If we're not here,
Alien Earth coming this spring.
What are we doing here?
You can plug your stuff all you want. I don't care.
Okay, good, because I do have something I want to plug today. So
good.
But that's a
so we're at about the half-hour mark, and we've gone through one of 5, so we're perfect timing.
You asked us on, bro. You knew what you were getting.
I'm aware. I got all night. I don't care. So I know I didn't want to say it.
This old man doesn't have all night. He's already.
I knew this was going to be a while. 4 assholes talking. It's bad enough with 3 of us now. There's 4 of us. I knew we'd be here for a while. It's fine.
All right. So we've gone from one that at least 2 of you, if not all of us, have a passion for and a love for the AVP universe. Let's go to the biggest, baddest crossover universe we know right now, the MCU. 45 movies as of now, 11 series. Those 11 series total 28 seasons of television. Do they have a lifespan, or is this going to go on forever?
Depends on what you're talking about. Because if we're talking strictly the multiverse, remember it's not 45 movies and 270 whatever episodes of multiverse stuff. They've only relatively recently started dipping their toe. Yeah, I get that, but I think the multiverse is going to come to an end at the end of Secret Wars. God, I hope so.
Yeah.
But it's going to
Point
come
of
to an
Secret
end at the
Wars,
end of
right?
Secret Wars. Here's the problem, though. What of the recent Marvel movies? What were the two highest grossing of the last like 5 or 6 or 7 recent Marvel movies? No Way
Guardians.
Home and Deadpool and Wolverine. What were those two films? Those two films' entire plot device was the multiverse, and people ate it up. So if you're Disney and you're watching other films come out doing dog shit that doesn't have any of that, and then you put two films out there that is nothing but that, and they make over $1 billion each, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You have a business to run. You have stockholders to answer to. If those movies are going to do well, you have to keep making them. You have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And it's funny because I brought this up on an episode a long time ago. We've almost reached the point where Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man is nostalgia. So we're almost to the point of this, and we're going to see it in Secret Wars with Robert Downey coming back, where the snake is almost eating its tail, where the nostalgia of the first movie is going to start kicking in.
Well, especially now that he's going to be a whole different character now too, right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
We have a generation now of parents with kids that are watching Iron Man for the first time with the kids.
Yeah, the plot points, I guess, Andrew, you're right, are about closing the multiverses. But I mean, like 95% of the film, though, is still taking place with that multiverse. I'm not talking from I'm talking more from a logistical standpoint, right? You went and saw those movies. You didn't necessarily go to see those movies. People went back to see those movies so much because Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showed up. And like Myers is saying, right?
Yeah.
Like it hits you right in the fucking nostalgia.
Yeah.
And you went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine because you finally got to see Deadpool and Wolverine on screen together, right? That's the reason why most of those people went and saw those films. And then you get this huge, nice tribute to all the Fox stuff that came up before, right?
So, I got a question for you guys. The Fantastic Four that they're going to be launching, that takes place in
Rob loves this franchise.
a totally different universe, does it not?
Correct.
And
Yes.
the intention there isn't to bring them over into 616.
Well, I
That's
believe
what-
so with Secret Wars.
At some point,
Oh,
yeah.
what about
There you go.
after? Right?
Well,
So
that's
you think
the
you're gonna-
idea. Not 616. Secret Wars will kind of reset everything, and then they'll be able to pick and choose whatever they want as part of their new thing.
But they can do that now with the multiverse. That's the whole point of the multiverse is lazy writing. They kind of run out of ideas. Now they're able to pick and
It's
choose.
a knife edge,
Whatever
right?
they
Because
wanna
you
do.
have to be able to, like Andrew's saying, they were to honor the past, but it's like putting a nice bow on it. I mean, it is, but again, the nostalgia is what brought people to the theaters. So you have this knife edge where you want to introduce new things like the Fantastic Four and new ideas and such to introduce new characters, because you can't keep trotting out like what's RDJ going to be doing, like playing like some guy in his 80. Like you can't, like you can only get so much use out of those characters, but at the same time, if that's what's going to bring people to the theaters and buy tickets because of that nostalgia factor, what do you do?
Tell you,
Right? It's tough.
So
it's
would a
just like the
better way to
comics,
do
right?
it?
They reinvent constantly, and when you
Right.
reinvent, you're rebooting, you're soft rebooting constantly, and that's what the multiverse has let comic book companies do, right? Is reinvent and reboot without necessarily killing what was before. So they're
and I
able
guess
to
my
reboot.
question with the Fantastic Four was, I don't know how 616 reboots everything, but do we lose like the universe we've been in, and that's the new
Spin off
universe?
to a new universe
Spin off
that
to a
has it
new
all.
universe with new people as all, right? Like,
Maybe, I don't know.
I
That's a good
question.
don't know.
That's funny because that's
You're
what
right, you
Crisis on Infinite Earths in DC Comics. That's what Crisis on Infinite Earths was. The DC continuity was all over the place. They had all these different multiverses in the comics, and shit just wasn't lining up and making sense. And DC editors were finally like, enough. We've 40 years we've been dealing with this. No one knows who anyone is or where anything is. We're going to crush all of the multiverses into one single universe. That's what Crisis on Infinite Earths was. And for decades, that's what DC was. No, there's no multiverse. There's no other versions of any of our heroes. There's one universe and just these guys, and figure it the fuck out. And that's what they
I feel
did.
like that's where we're going to be here.
That's
Once
the
people
only
focus
thing that would make sense after Secret Wars is if they destroy the multiverse and they have one singular universe that has all
And
their
they
favorite
start
characters in
this
it.
bullshit over for the next
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, and then I'm going to hang myself.
Yeah.
No, but but by doing that, it gives them that opportunity to be able to reboot certain characters that may be dead.
Right.
Right? Like bringing
Or
back a
old.
new Tony
They
Stark with
come
a
as
new actor.
variants.
Yeah, because now Tony Stark is not Tony Stark. You're right. RDJ is now Victor Von Doom. So if RDJ is not Victor Von Doom, well, does that mean that we can have a different person as Iron Man? Why not? That's what Secret Wars is going to potentially be able to do for Marvel. But if it's going to work, I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, I know Jeff is sick of Marvel. Everything that comes out from Marvel, all he does is
Not everything.
everything that comes out.
I love
whine and
Deadpool and
complain.
Wolverine, sir. Loved
Okay,
it.
fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
So do we, instead of doing a multiverse, do we do like we did in the 90s where we just do individual stories with completely different actors, like Batman, where we have a different Batman in every movie? We have a different Iron Man, different Captain America. Do you do something instead like that, where is the nostalgia for the actor or is it for the character? What do you think's more important?
Well, I think you're confusing multiverse and cinematic universe.
Well, I'm saying this would kill the multiverse. Like if that's what we're going to do, we're just going to kill the multiverse. Does Marvel then say, we know that the IPs of Iron Man and stuff still have life, but instead of 15 Iron Men and 15 Captain America, do we just do like an Iron Man movie every couple decades or every couple years to make the fans of Iron Man happy? Does that solve the problem?
I don't know that that's a good example, because with Iron Man, I feel like even after Secret Wars and whatever they're going to decide to do, even if they do decide to reboot that character, it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
We're not
Okay.
going to be looking
Yeah.
at the first phase coming out of Secret Wars like with a new Iron Man, right? We're going to come out of the first phase of Secret 4 with X-Men and all these, and Blade and Fantastic Four and all these new franchises now, a new sandbox that we're going to be able to play in with new characters and new things, so that when we do relaunch Iron Man in 10 or 15 or 20 years, it'll feel fresh again. I think that's what they're doing. I could be out to lunch, but I don't think you're going to see those characters rebooted right away. Although they now have that option of doing that, I think they're going to try, and they've shown they're trying this. They're going to try to replicate what Marvel Comics did by launching all the young versions of these characters, right? The young Iron Man, or Iron Heart is what they called her, or the son of Hulk, I forget what his name is, and the Young Avengers, right? They seem to want to go that direction right now with the characters that we know. They're gonna disappear, and their younger versions are gonna start. They're gonna start propping those up and trying to build stories around those guys, which for the most part, in the comics, has not worked.
No.
None of those characters have become popular. None of those series stick around. They keep getting rebooted over and over again because none of them stick. The only one that's stuck is Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel has now been around for quite a while. All of these other ones, they come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and they go, and they never stick. So I don't know why they're going that route in the movies when they know it didn't work in the comics. But again, I feel like they've lost their creativity at Marvel. The bucket is empty now. Their creative bucket is gone, and they don't know what to do anymore, and they're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what's going to stick. That's what I think is happening a little bit, but that's a different rant.
Andrew in chat, I like continuations to progress a hero, but stop making everything a trilogy. Crossover can still be a thing. A proper world level threats, but not every problem is a world level threat. I got to agree with that. I think that's one of the things that makes Daredevil show such a good series, is that it's a street crime series.
Mm-hmm.
Kingpin's a big deal, but he ain't destroying New York City in one day. So I think more small stories with characters like that. Everyone craps on Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't mind it.
They should.
I see, and I look at that and I go, Yes, I think I'm not a big fan of the villain and all that, but I do count it as just one of those. I think Thor says it, or Krog says at the beginning. What's his name? The rock guy? Korg. He says another Thor story, like another great Thor story, and that's how I view it. It's just like it's another story. I don't expect it to be, a Galactus-sized death threat every movie, and I think that's a good thing that Daredevil's doing, and I think Marvel should keep going that way. That, let's have Spider-Man beat up a couple muggers and not have to go after someone who's going to destroy New York City with a giant laser.
Stakes, though, are important, right? And the problem is, if the last Spider-Man movie, the stakes was the multiverse, and then your next Spider-Man movie, the stake is a street criminal robbing a bank, the audience isn't going to have as much of a buy-in. It's like a power creep, right? If you're introducing a new hero, because Daredevil's never had to participate in a world level threat, so you can keep going with that Daredevil. And I think having variety is important too. I think Thor is a cosmic being. He's essentially an alien. It makes sense for him to be playing on bigger stakes. He is, of course, the strongest Avenger, and he's like a god, right? Or a demigod at the very least. So he should be fighting bigger shit. And Daredevil is literally a blind dude that knows karate, right? So he should be fighting street level shit. It's when you try to make both of those things happen or whatever, or you start messing with that formula on either end, then it doesn't start to work anymore. Because no one wants to see Thor stopping guys rob a bank, and no one wants to see Hawkeye on some galaxy level threat, because both of those things don't match up, right? So I think it depends on the story you're trying to tell with the hero that you have to work with, and that's where the multiverse shit starts to get, and the crossover shit starts to get wonky, because then you do have Hawkeye in the middle of a battle against Thanos, and you're like, what the fuck is this guy going to do with a bow and arrow? I'm not totally shitting on Hawkeye. I'm just saying it makes it more difficult to tell that cohesive story so that everybody gets their moment, right? Excuse me.
All right, we could keep talking about MCU, but we got a couple more to go. Let's jump into the boys and girls across the street, the DC.
Or, maybe we won't.
Maybe we won't.
What happened?
You see that little X that's happening on his connection?
Yeah, I think we lost Michael Myers.
Guys, it's no longer the Monday Night Nerd. You are on the Monday Night Geeks and Company.
Am I back?
You're back. There you go.
Hey, there you are.
All right.
Connection. Love it. DCEU. 16 movies over 10 years. We're not going to count the CW shows because that's a completely different universe. And if we did, that's 6 shows and 37 seasons. It's insane. What went wrong with DC? Was it too many crossovers too fast? Was it trying to just ram a universe down our throats? What do you guys think?
There were 16 movies in that universe?
I believe
if you consider from Superman, the originals, like
that's
82 Superman, or 80, whatever it is.
78, 79.
No, I'm going DCEU, the newest universe, the extended universe. So Man of Steel forward.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
There's 14 movies?
No, 16.
Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice, Aqua, Shazam, Birds, 84, Snyder, if you want to count it, Suicide Squad, Atom, Shazam, Flash, Beetle, Lost Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
Made quite the impact on you, clearly.
I was going to say.
No, what went wrong?
All right, so didn't get the fandom we wanted. Got the answer.
Yeah. What went wrong?
It's tough being second. It's tough being second. You get handcuffed, because I remember when they first started building it, people were like, well, they're just going to copy Marvel. Fuck those guys. And then they didn't copy Marvel. And then after 5 or 6 or 7 years, everybody's like, well, you should have fucking copied Marvel. Like they were doomed to me from the jump. I don't think there was any way for them to win. I really don't. Without either looking like a complete carbon copy of Marvel or something so completely different from Marvel, which is kind of the route they've tried to go. But it was just similar enough that people were like, well, we want it to look like this, but it doesn't. It looks like that. But if it had looked exactly like that, we would have shit on you too. So fuck you. We don't want your universe. Is basically how I interpret it as it happened.
That's It's kind of how I feel about them doing it now too.
At least now they're not being shy about it. They're like, we're copying Marvel. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're 100% copying Marvel. It worked for them. We're going to try to copy what they did in their first 10 years.
Do you think a part of it played into that the CW universe had already started really and really had a fan base, and they're so steadfast of that's completely different?
Well, there was a lot going on there when the CW signed that deal to be able to start releasing those DC shows. There was an agreement that they were not going to use Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They were never going to have Batman on one of their shows. That was the only
nobody,
thing.
by the way. No TV show by any studio has been allowed to use Batman. Batman is
HBO has, but we'll get back to that one in a second, I'm assuming. Titans showed us.
He wasn't on
Titans.
They showed us Batman
like
Titans.
in shadows with like it's not a it's anyways. Go ahead.
Well, we saw him as Bruce Wayne.
We saw him as Bruce Wayne
multiple times, and then as Batman, yes, we only saw him in a fight sequence that was recorded on a camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But at least they have Batman in that world,
right.
Whereas in the DC world, Batman wasn't even allowed to even exist until finally they decided to come up with that Batwoman show.
Right.
And then they had no choice, right? If you're going to come out with a Batwoman show, Batman had to have existed in some way, shape, or form. How much that world, that universe, the Arrowverse or the Flashverse or whatever you want to call it. I think they actually call it the Arrowverse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that had a lot to impact on the DCEU. I just think, and I think Crystal mentioned it a little bit. She said something. They tried too hard to catch up too fast. I think that was a little bit of their problem as well. Is they're throwing us a Justice League movie before you've even introduced all the fucking characters. Like, how about you see what works and what doesn't, and build stories, and then once you've got characters that are interesting, then you build a story that interconnects them with this big level threat, kind of like what Marvel did, right?
That's what I'm saying, though. That's kind of where they tried to avoid that so they wouldn't get called out for copying Marvel.
I think that was wrong.
I agree that it's wrong, but that was the thought process at the time, and it was hard. It'd be hard to blame them because they were getting it from all sides. The Arrowverse, I don't think worked more because it was on. Imagine those properties in more akin to the Netflix shows like your Daredevils and stuff that came out. Like, imagine instead of being a 26 episode cheeseball low budget CW show on a minor cable network, imagine one of the major streamers, which didn't even really exist at the time, picking those shows up and making those shows 8 to 10 high budget, tightly packed, like the Penguin that we just had, like some of these other streaming shows that you had. Imagine those shows in that vein.
Well, we got them. We got Titans like that. We've got what was Titans the other one?
Titans still felt pretty. I don't want to say low budget or cheap because I know they spent some money on that show, but it still didn't feel like they had a lot of like top level actors and Titans was cheap. Sure. Titans was pretty cheesy.
They had the same level of. It was the same level of corniness and actors as CW.
That's how it felt. Yeah, 100%. It didn't feel like Daredevil. It didn't feel like those shows.
No, it didn't. You're right.
In a couple ways, though, it did feel like Daredevil, especially season 2. But
yeah, a lot of the fights in season 2, and especially when they bring on Red Hood and all that nonsense,
were so good. Like,
it gets pretty fucking brutal and violent, and yeah.
But I think those shows were there specifically to highlight the fact that it is an extended universe, that everything was not connected.
Yes.
That you could have all these different things and give writers and directors an opportunity to tell whatever story they wanted, provided they didn't use Batman. They could tell whatever story they wanted, right? One of the best shows to come out of that CW whole thing was Superman and Lois, apparently, which I still have yet to watch yet. But everybody that watched that show said it was
apparently
really good.
Wicked. Yeah.
Right? So it is possible to do those things on the smaller screen, not have them connected to anything else, and still make them good and viable and such. But that's not where we're going to get moving forward. And this sucks because we have exactly one thing that's been released. The whole thing's out, but we have exactly one thing that's been released for this new DCU.
No.
And that's Creature Commandos, which is fantastic, by the way. But as far as an opening salvo, having an animated thing of a bunch of classic movie monsters that are essentially like the new Suicide Squad, just with monsters instead. I don't know. Why is that your first thing? I don't
know either.
It's such a weird move. It's
I don't
such
even
a
know where to
James
watch
Gunn
it,
move.
and I'm probably not going to.
Well, I have a feeling it has to do, it's how quickly you can get a show like that out versus getting, a movie like Superman that you haven't even started writing. Right? You can start writing episodes and producing animated shows quickly versus these big budget movies, right? Like they take 2, 3, 4 years to produce and film and effects and all that bullshit.
Yeah, and you can
right
perhaps lay a lot of the plot groundwork in an animated series.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Creature Commando, so I don't know if they do that, but I know he is skipping like a lot of the origin stories and sort of just jumping straight to like, okay, we know the history, we're here now.
Like, believe it or not, actually, I think it's 7 episodes. They do a really good job of introducing each of the characters and giving you a backstory for each of the characters. They actually do a fantastic job of this. Some of the best episodes through that run were the episodes showing you the backstory of one of the particular characters, right? So he does a good job with that, and it's been a season 2, and James Gunn's been very frank about this. Like, all these characters that you see in here, all the voice actors, if these characters end up coming over in real life, which we already know Frank Grillo's character of Rick Flag Sr. is going to be in the Superman film in his real life form. He's like, all the voice actors are playing those characters on screen if that character makes it to the screen. So at least he's keeping that level of continuity, which I enjoy. It does mean that he's got to find voice actors that match the character's physicality. If they're not like a CGI, if they're not like a CGI creation, right? Like GI Robot and Weasel, that's pretty easy. It's just, those are CGI characters. But like the Bride and Dr. Fott, well, and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think most of them are probably going to be CGI creations anyways. Right? So
if we're going to
as much
talk about Creature Commando, I think you need to mention the fact that they did again show us a outline of the bat.
Yes.
Now, I don't get it. I don't see it. For some weird reason, a lot of people are thinking that this shape, this outline that they've seen is the Batman. And that the Batman and the Penguin and that is going to be part of this universe. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the still. I don't see it. I don't understand where they're even getting that they feel like it's the Batman, because it doesn't look like that suit at all or that cowl at all. The ears aren't right, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But we are getting a new Batman.
More of is that they think it's the Alan Ritchson version.
I don't think that's
speculating that might be happening. That's going to happen.
I don't think that's happening. I'd be surprised.
I think that has more credibility as a rumor than the Batman. Because
I would be down for that.
If you wanted to make sure there was a differentiate between the two Batmen, having
to do it.
Emo Robert Pattinson, very pretty emo Robert Pattinson as one Batman, and then 6'8", 300 pounds of solid beefcake Alan Ritchson as the other Batman. No one's going to mix those two dudes up. You're going to know exactly which Batman you're seeing on screen at any given time. I'm fine with that. It's not Pattinson. Even Gunn said so. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
That doesn't mean anything these days, right?
Exactly.
Sure. So we've realized that rushing into things is not the way to do it. DC has proved that with 16 movies and not a lot to show with it. Let's jump into one that has lasted generations, folks. Godzilla and King Kong. 7 Kong movies, 4 animated shows, Godzilla, 33 Toho movies, 3 US movies, and 11 shows, 3 crossovers between the both of them. Why has this franchise lasted for different cultures and generations all this time? Why has it lasted? Why is no one tired of these two fighting each other?
Monsters, bud. Monsters fighting.
Giant monsters.
Same thing as giant robots fighting, right? Like it's there's something about these big things that are so big when they fight each other, they're destroying cities.
That's
It's a
it.
bit
It's
of
just
disaster
it's just a
porn.
primal. It's just primal that two things destroy, and that's it.
I mean, I don't know.
Hey, why don't you go back and watch the Alan Henry edition of the Geek Boutique podcast live every Thursday at 7:00? And we did ask Alan Henry, who did a lot of the performance capture work, especially for Kong, that very question. What is it about this particular universe that's so appealing? It has such longevity. Part of it is that nostalgia piece too. Like, I remember watching Godzilla and King Kong movies when I was a kid.
yeah.
Right? So bringing those characters back and keep bringing them back and finding new ways to tell those stories and now bringing them together. It's just like the Freddy versus Jason thing. Sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze. I get to watch disaster porn. I get to watch giant fucking monsters beating the shit out of each other in such a way that I can see. It's brightly lit. It's colored. There's all this, like, I can see everything. That was my one big thing with Pacific Rim, is the final fight in Pacific Rim takes place at night at the bottom of the fucking ocean. I couldn't see anything happening because it was so dim and dark and murky. Kong and Godzilla are like, no, hold my beer, man. You're going to see everything you want to see in these
They
films.
did it better for sure.
They know what the films are. They know what they're giving you. They don't try to be these deeply felt human interest stories. You guys want to see giant monsters kicking the shit out of each other. It's exactly what you're going to get.
You say that, but -1, man, was.
Thank you.
I'm not talking -1. I'm not, because that's not a crossover film.
No, but it's
I'm talking those American Kong Godzilla.
You're talking
films.
about the legendary universe.
Yes, 'cause that's kind of what we're talking about on a multiverse type thing. You're right. -1, I did not enjoy because it's way too much of a human interest story.
Really
Correct.
You were the first one I've heard to say that.
Yep. I didn't actually even love the 2014 Godzilla either, because same thing. I remember my good friend Dennis and I went and saw that Gareth Edwards, that first Godzilla film, and when the credits started to roll, he turned to me and he was so mad. He said, if you're going to call your movie Godzilla, Godzilla should be in your goddamn movie, because too much of that movie was the human interest angle. It's exactly what you guys were talking about with the Alien and the Predator stuff. There's too many fucking people in these movies. I don't come here for glib jokes and witty one-liners. I come here to watch monsters beat the fuck out of each other. Can I just have that, please? And with Kong, it's easier because Kong has a human analog, right? He's bipedal, got a human-looking face, got arms, got legs. And they find ways to CGI emotion onto that dude's face. You can relate to Kong as a person. Godzilla, a little bit harder. Spicy lizard, I get it, but you still don't need to have 3/4 of the movie being nothing but people. That's not what I'm here for.
Alan was actually explaining that, I think, the first time he came on the show, where they have a camera. The suit is rigged with a camera that records his expressions as he's doing Kong, and they're using his facial expressions in Kong's facial expressions. I don't know how to explain it any better. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. The Monarch series is great. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the Monarch series was very good.
Oh, very good.
Because that's what that was meant to be, though, too. That's Jeff Words who needs them. But that's what Monarch was meant to do, right? To give you that more of that human story and angle and the backstory and how Monarch came to be. Like, I like that as an ancillary thing, as an add-on, some gooey nuggets of information to help you build out that universe a bit. But when I'm plunking down $20 for a ticket in IMAX with my son, we're only there for one thing. And I feel like the last couple of movies have been very clear on giving us the one thing that we're there for. And those movies made a ton of money, and they're going to keep making them. So don't try to be what you're not, man. I don't need I don't need to get in touch with Godzilla's emotions.
So do you think then that we're getting another Godzilla Kong movie, or are we going to be getting a Godzilla and or a Kong movie next?
I think it'd be foolish of them not to do one more, not to have some sort of a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
They meet and fight in the first one, and then the second one is much more Kong's story. I think the third one has to be Godzilla's story, right? Because I think of the two, we can relate more to Kong, but I still think Godzilla is the bigger name, right? Everybody on planet Earth knows who Godzilla is. So I think that third movie has to focus on the spicy lizard and have Kong there as to support. And then you wrap up that trilogy in that manner. That's what I would do. I'm not.
And the reverse of the second one.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, shift the focus a little bit onto the spicy lizard.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to put that
upgraded again, right?
Put that on a poster. Spicy lizard.
Spicy lizard.
Born the
I didn't
spicy
come up
lizard?
with spicy lizard, man. I'm not. Crystal, you stay safe. Don't be
Yes.
taking any chances over there walking
home at this time. Oh
Yeah.
in this economy.
It's probably like minus 50 out there right now.
Yeah, I hope you bundled up because woo,
Yeah, it can't be warm out there right now.
the air is spicy out there right now. It's not cool.
Yeah, I agree with the human side that it's too much. I give -1 a pass only because I don't want to just say it's a better movie when it comes to writing about the human interest story, but I do agree. I think having those two collide is a great visual, but I'm still surprised after this many decades that it's still like those two are going to slam into each other for 2 hours. Here's $20.
Sign me the fuck up.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things that I remember watching them as a kid too, watching the black and white ones, and I'm just like, this is really cool. And I'm 36 now and I'm like, can I do it again?
Well, I was just gonna say, and that's a good point. Like, technology keeps reinventing itself over and over again. So that's another aspect, right? Like, you remember watching it in black and white, and you're like, this is really cool. And now you have like HD, and you're like, we got to make a HD.
Yeah.
It's like, do it again, and then we got
it's not a guy in a rubber suit stepping on models now, right?
yeah. We could just keep doing it bigger and better, and like, why not do it again?
It's
Resell
actually
it.
a really good point, Rob. Is the evolution of the technology keeps bringing these things back around now that we can see them in more and more realistic terms, right?
For sure. And you probably, if we think about it for a couple minutes, you could probably find examples of that everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I will say I like how Toho has kept their Godzilla guy in a suit looking. Even though I'm sure it's mostly CG, it kind of still has that looking feel of a guy in a giant suit.
Yeah, they haven't messed with the shape of it.
Yeah, the shape of Godzilla is great, right? It's like it was in the old days. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I understand your argument, Jeff, about the whole people element, and I agree. I mean, I brought it up earlier, right? And that was my issue with AVP. -1, man. I think you were right about the whole. Well, don't call it a Godzilla movie if it's not about Godzilla, right? And -1 really isn't even about Godzilla.
Yeah.
Godzilla is the earthquake, right?
Right.
The show's not about the movie's not about the earthquake. The movie's not about, whatever the disaster is. The movie's about the people that are living that disaster. That's how -1 was, and it was a good movie in that sense, right? That story and the acting was fantastic, and I just loved everything about it. I do wish we had gotten another Godzilla attack. I wish we had seen Godzilla one more time.
I think
the
that's
only
more
problem
what
is
I'm
the
talking
movie was
about.
already too long.
Yeah,
right?
you've got to
So-
strike a balance. When I think about it, I think of Aliens,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of people in Aliens, and it clearly has a human element story to Aliens. But the aliens still play such a huge role, and then you get the big queen at the end. It's still Ripley's story, right?
Yes.
Ripley is the central character, and then Newt comes along, and we fall in love, and we want to see them succeed, and we want to see them live. We buy into the adventure. We buy into them surviving, right? That's the whole point of Aliens. So it's called Aliens. The first film is one alien picking off a crew, so like that is sort of the central arc. But in the second film, there's fucking hundreds of the goddamn things, so it waters down the significance of them a little bit. But at the same time, and then they show the queen at the end. The way that's constructed, you can still have the people and make me give a shit about the monster. And yet, I did find with -1 and with some of the other ones, and like the original Godzilla from 2014. It didn't have that balance for me. There was just too much on the one side, and then you get something like Pacific Rim where you get too much on the other side, where I don't give a shit about the people now. I don't care if they live. I'm not invested in any of them now. So I shouldn't say that just get rid of all the people. That's not what I meant. There just has to be a balance between the two.
No, that's a great argument. I like that. I like that. All right, so we've gone through AVP, we've gone through MCU, DCU, Godzilla, and Kong. Let's figure final universe, final crossover. The one that failed, kind of. And I say kind of because I didn't realize this till I did a little research today. This is technically a universe that's still going. The the Dark Universe. So,
Really?
yeah. So this is the Tom Cruise Mummy movie. However, I did hop on a couple sites where fans are talking that The Invisible Man from 2020, Renfield, Abigail, and Wolfman that just came out last week, I believe, are all technically part of this Dark Universe.
Well, didn't the Dark Universe already have a Wolfman?
Well, the problem that's the problem is that technically the Dark Universe was the Tom Cruise movie, and then they were going to go with Johnny Depp was supposed to be in it and a whole bunch of other actors, but after that Mummy movie, it died. So technically, Invisible Man and all the rest don't count, but because they're kind of the Universal monsters, some fans are saying that they still count. I don't know about that, but let's talk about the Mummy, because that is definitely the Dark Universe that Universal was going to run with. Is this just the carbon copy trademark what not to do when you're building a universe of just, we're just going to tell you what 50 movies we're going to do in the next 10 years?
Well, that was a dumb move for sure. I mean, I think that, you know, they had the right idea of starting with one and seeing how that one did, which was the Mummy. The problem was that the Mummy was fucking shit. Right? So your first movie in your new universe that you've been blabbering on for years is garbage. Right? Like why wouldn't you just take these one movie at a time? And maybe the Mummy's garbage, but then maybe Dracula's better. Or maybe the Wolfman's better. Or like, who knows, right? Like I don't understand why they went and opened their claps about this whole Dark Universe thing. Well, I mean, I know why they did it. Because they wanted to follow the Marvel recipe, right? They wanted to get into the Marvel cash cow, right? That's what they wanted. But you're right. Talking about there being a Dark Universe was a misstep. The whole marketing around that, I think, was a misstep. Yeah, Andrew Saxon says it's right there. Don't advertise a universe until you have a couple of hits to bring together.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank you.
They didn't.
Yeah,
Well, did anybody really think that The Mummy wasn't going to be a hit? The talent they had on that film. I want you to think of the last, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 12, 15. It's exactly what Andre is. Just Andre's ahead of me already on what I'm saying. Yeah. Tom Cruise just keeps picking banger after banger after. The dude has not made a bad movie in 20 years except for that film. That film, Russell Crowe, is like, that film should have been the launch. By the way, we're conflating multiverse and connected universe. It wasn't meant to be it was meant to be a connected universe like the MCU.
Yeah, this was a connected.
Right now, I could believe that all those movies that you listed are part of a multiverse of Universal monsters. Absolutely. Where they're occupying different universes and they would have an opportunity in some way, shape, or form to try to cross them over. But as far as a connected universe go, how did that movie fail? How did that movie do so badly when everything was behind it? You have all these established IPs. Everybody knows who these characters are. You have one of the top billable stars in the entire world, a new up-and-coming star with Sophia Botella. You've got guys like Russell Crowe in it with familiar characters that everybody wants to see and read about. You have shows like Penny Dreadful that's bringing in the same kind of concept where you're bringing all these monsters back out of the woodwork and connecting them all. And yet, The Mummy was missing Brendan Fraser. There were some big fucking shoes to fill, man. That movie is beloved.
Yeah.
And it bombs. And it didn't just bomb, like, you're right, it killed an entire planned out universe. Like, they didn't even be like, okay, we took a hit on the chin on that one, but we've already got all these other movies planned. We have actors under contract. We have scripts being written. We have producers on board. We have a runner for the whole thing. We'll crank out 3 or 4 of them. Maybe this was just the one. No. They were like, fuck everything. We're not doing any of it now. That's how bad that movie was and how bad it created.
And after there was such a successful Mummy franchise, why would they pick that as their first movie? Right? You're going to reboot a franchise, like your most recent franchise. You're going to reboot it as the lead to your new universe and your new franchise.
What would you have chosen out of the sort of the Universal monsters? What do you think should have been the first film out of the gate?
Probably Wolfman.
Yeah.
For me, Wolfman or Dracula. For me, the monster universe, the Mummy was always the joke one, right? The funny one out of the monster universe. For me, it was always about the werewolf and Wolfman and Dracula. But that's
Andrew's put the pipe down. Rob, what about you? Out of all those classic movie monsters, what do you think should have been the first foray into building a new connected monster universe?
I would also probably go with Wolfman.
Yeah.
You make great points about like just having already had a successful Mummy franchise, but I find that character boring. I'll be honest with you, I haven't even seen the 2017 Mummy, so I can't comment. I'm part of the problem.
No, you're
I haven't
good.
even watched it.
You're good.
Totally good. Now, Mike, when he said, because I don't agree, when he said Wolfman, you shook your head. What do you think should be the first film of the gate?
Van Helsing.
This is why we don't like you at all. This is why we don't have you back on the podcast. What do you mean,
No.
Van Helsing?
You do Van Helsing because everyone loved that Hugh Jackman movie. It's
No,
got
they
such
did
a cult-
not. Everyone loved that Hugh Jackman
Bull.
movie. Are
That's
you
got
out of your
such a
mind?
cult fault. No, that's got such a cult
following,
fault.
but that's not the same
Okay.
as everybody loved. They didn't launch a franchise
Okay.
because it bombed at the theater. And it's
No,
dog
but it's
shit.
got a cult. No, you could say the same thing about Constantine. Everyone loves Constantine now.
Yeah,
but
did
it
you
bombed
see
in the box
Constantine
office.
too?
Well, yeah. But point being, that is something that I think you could definitely introduce a bunch of them and see what the reception is. You could get a little bit of Frankenstein.
Listen, we're going to start building our monster universe, and the first movie doesn't focus on one of our monsters, guys. Trust me, this is going to work. Get on board. Also, by the way, The Dark Knight, shit movie. Don't watch it.
I mean,
I'm with Lex, by the way. What Lex is saying down there, I would have chosen Frankenstein, 100%.
Yeah, Frankenstein's a good pick as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. The first one out of the gate for me, I think, because you can still the suits still want that human interest story. You get that in spades with Frankenstein. It's compelling. Everybody knows the story, and I know they have done a few Frankenstein movies. Don't get me wrong, and most of them have not been great. Frankenstein.
Yeah, but Penny Dreadful
did
so well
that's what I'm saying. Yes,
Again,
and Jekyll and Hyde. Those are both good examples of what I think you would do coming out of the gate. Because then you just build around those guys like they tried to do with the Mummy. They just didn't. And by the way, that's funny too that your top star in your Mummy movie is not the Mummy. it's Tom Cruise. So that's not even the dude you're building the universe around either, because he's not actually playing one of the monsters. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, it is one, like you said, Jeff, that you pumped up so much. And you got all these actors, you got everything involved, and didn't even give it the shot of, let's try another one.
Yeah.
One.
Nope. Just
boom.
All
done.
Thanks.
One done.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see how much money they lost on that film, because I imagine it's not an insignificant amount.
Well, I think
Rough.
there might be a chance that is going to come back around again, because they are making the new Universal Studios park, and there is a Dark Universe park which has all the monsters in it.
Right.
And it's getting a ton of press, so I would not be surprised if Universal is looking going round 2, maybe.
I'd be here for it if they can do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we would like that for everything. If they did Aliens right, if they did DC right.
Yeah, and the stuff that's managed to stick around is stuff that they did right for the most part. But even look at the first 5 MCU movies. Iron Man 2, dog shit. Captain America: The First Avenger, boring. The Incredible Hulk has its fans, but like divisive and not, you know what I mean? It's not like their first 5 hits were bangers. Iron Man 1 is what set the tone. If your first movie's good, you can be forgiven if you put out a couple of snorers, right? But that first one's got to be pretty good. There's got to be a buy-in, right? So DC kind of had the same thing with Man of Steel, right? It was a buy-in, made $700 million. People seemed to enjoy it. It was a little divisive. It wasn't Iron Man, but it wasn't like Iron Man 2. It was better than that, right? So it was enough to kind of get you started. But man, oh man, you got to have an Avengers after that. Like, you got to have something to build up towards, right? Which I think was what the Dark Universe was trying to do too. And if they just stayed the course, they probably had a chance of doing it. And then having some weird Justice League Dark where like all the monsters get together for one big monster off or whatever, one big monster circle jerk, whatever the fuck it was going to be. They have an opportunity to do that, and they blow it because that one movie didn't do well. Don't picture that. What are you doing? Don't imagine that. It's terrible.
Don't.
You just were. You even freezed on screen going, I wonder what that would look like.
We already got a great monster team. A movie was called The Monster Squad. I forget what year it came out in.
Yeah, there we go.
Fantastic.
Wolfman's got nerds.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, some of these crossover multiverses things have worked, some haven't. If you're running a studio, conclusion, if you're running it, do you do a crossover? Like, do you plan this ahead of time, or do you just do one movie and hope that it works and work on in the future?
I'm just going to interrupt here quickly.
Sure.
Before marketing, all right? So we're not even
Okay.
counting marketing costs, because when you're talking about budgets and stuff like that, usually they say your marketing cost is usually about half of what your production budget is. So if you've got like a $300 million production budget, you've got a $150,000 marketing budget. This had a $195 million production budget. Jeff, I'll give you a guess as far as how much money this movie made.
How much it made
Yeah,
worldwide?
on a almost 200 worldwide. Worldwide.
I couldn't even.
probably
I'm gonna
how much it
say
made.
100 million.
No,
Walt,
you're not
am
even
I
close.
like high or low?
Way higher.
It's way higher than 100 million.
Yeah.
Well, how much money did it make then?
It made $400 million worldwide. It doubled its money. So it
So-
did actually lose money, right? Like, even if you're counting
Wow.
marketing in there, I
It made
can't
about
imagine.
$100 million bucks.
It probably made about $100 million.
Well,
But-
the studio gets half, right? So they would have
Okay,
gotten 200
so-
back, which
but
was
still.
they probably lost about 100 million on it, which in the grand scheme of things, for an initial movie starting up a universe, is not that big a deal. Like, you wouldn't have thought. Now, I know the critics savaged it, and you started off this conversation by saying it was fucking terrible. So
It was.
maybe that's what it was, right? Maybe it got savaged so hard that they were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna
Mm.
continue with this." But I didn't know it made 400 million
15%
worldwide.
on
That's
Rotten Tomatoes.
crazy. Yeah, 15, 1.5,
1.5.
15.
Yeah.
All right, maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were like, everybody hates this movie.
But it made $400 million worldwide.
That's crazy. I did not know that. That's
What that Tom Cruise name does.
right.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
sorry.
yeah.
Michael,
No,
what
you're
was
good.
your question
No, you're
there?
good.
Yeah, no. So, if you were running a studio, do we just do one movie, or do you kind of plan in the back of your head, let's do a crossover multiverse in the future, or do you just do one movie? Jeff?
You plan it. I don't think you have much of a choice. All the best book series that you've ever read lay seeds early, and then they pay off in the long run, right? Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Harry Dresden Files, like all of those were planned out to be Potter to an extent. But I mean, very quickly they realized that they had something on their hands, and they start to build out early on. I think that's the key. The only reason why some of these movies work now still is because it's tugging on what you've already seen before and fallen in love with, and bringing it back around to you, showing it to you in a slightly new and shiny way. And you're like, oh, I remember that. That makes me feel like I felt back then, and I loved it then, and now I love it now. Even if it's dog shit, you're still going to love it because you're getting to have that thing, right? You don't get any of that if you go into it not knowing that you have a plan in place to try to build on that out. You can't have one successful movie and go, that was really good, we should try again, because that's when you get things like ABP Requiem. That's when you get shit that just doesn't connect and doesn't feel like it's, you got to plan it out.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say it any better than that. You gotta, if you know what you're making has the potential to be built upon, you gotta plan it from the beginning. You'd be silly not to. Even if you weren't successful, you still have to plan it as though that might be part of your long-term plan. Shoot high, see what happens, but plan it in.
JS?
Yeah, I agree. You have to be able to have the foresight of, if I make something and that thing's going to turn out to be really, really good, where can I go next? Right? So any good writer will want to already have an idea of where they're going next built into their story, right? At the same time, you need to be able to build a good story, right? Because like The Mummy has shown us, if your first one is shit, nobody's going to care about seeing another one, right? You're probably not going to make another one. So you have to be able to make good movies. You can't just be, oh, well, it's part of the multiverse, so you're going to fucking like it or else you're this and that. No, make a good fucking movie. right? And then if your movies are good, we'll come back to watch more. So make one good movie within the back of your head that needs to lead potentially into something else if it really is good. That's the way I see it. But you can't do any of this at the expense of building a good product. Because how many of these multiverses that we've talked today are either DOA or on the way out?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
100%.
No, sometimes it'll work out, right? Like you'll make Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Curse of the Black Pearl. They didn't think there was going to be a franchise out of that. They based off a fucking ride at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
But as you saw after the third movie, when they kind of ran out of ideas, the quality of those films and the writing on those films just dropped off a fucking cliff because they didn't have anything else to do. They're like, well, what's it going to be now? It's the Fountain of Youth. It doesn't make any sense. We don't care. You're probably going to go see it anyway.
Look where we are now.
That's what I'm saying.
Somebody was like, okay, we take Pirates of the Caribbean, hear me out, Star Wars, and we got Skeleton Crew.
There's some executive walking around the park looking at rides going, we can make something out of It's a Small World. I'm telling you, we can.
Hey, a little shout out to Skeleton Crew, by the way. If you have not watched Skeleton Crew, you should watch Skeleton Crew. It's actually really, really good.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's what I've heard.
It made me really enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah, same.
Is it over yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Just.
Perfect.
Check it out. I highly recommend it.
So good.
If you love things like Goonies and E.T. and that style or feel of movie, that's exactly what you're going to get. So people are like, it's for kids. I don't want to watch it. No, it's not. No, it's absolutely not for kids. It has kids in it. It's not for kids. Watch the film. You're going to watch the TV show. You're going to enjoy it. Speaking of TV shows, if you would be so kind, Mr. Myers, like just a couple of seconds to plug something, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Thanks, buddy. I mentioned it on our podcast, but last year I participated in a little film called A Long Ride Home, where someone foolishly cast me as the lead in it. We had a viewing at CK Expo last year. We had a viewing at London Comic Con last year. We had a viewing at the Windsor Center for Performing Arts or Fine Arts, and a representative from Bell was there, and they asked us to submit it as a pilot, and we did, and we didn't think anything would come of it. And something has come of it. So we are being funded our little thing. Now we have to reshoot everything that we shot, except for the opening sequence, I think. Every scene I was in, we have to reshoot. And we are doing some recasting, by the way. So if you have an opportunity to go on Facebook, look up JX3 Media. JX3 Media. They are casting for some specific roles. You can see the cast list there of what they're looking for. But we will be making the film over the course of this spring into the summer and possibly into the early fall. We will then give it to Bell, and they will show it on their network on Bell 5 TV for up to 6 months. And then we're going to get the film back, and we're going to make it into a film, and then we're going to tour it around and such. But yeah, your boy's going to be on TV, and that's the weirdest shit that's ever happened to me. So when I get more news, I will share it with all of our faithful through the Geek Boutique. And of course, hopefully I can come back on the Monday Night Nerd and plug my shit and let you know where you can see it and when you can see it and all that good stuff. And I'm very, very excited and very proud of all the people that worked on the film and that we've gotten to this point after many, many, many years of this production company making films on their dime and time. They're finally getting funded by a studio. So that's it, man. That's my plug. That's all I got. Yeah, thanks, buddy. A long ride home. You'll know when it's done. I'll let everybody know for sure.
That is really good news. I'm very that's really, really cool. That's Thanks, really, man. Really cool. I know Thanks. I've seen little things that you've let out about little things you've been working on. So to see it actually get
it's wild. I don't get it at all.
Something.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what's happening. But we're gonna have a good time.
Got to save my $20 to get your autograph next time I see you.
Yeah. Make sure to try to save some time to come back on our podcast.
I'm not signing an autograph for any dork that thinks The Dark Knight's a shit film, man. You can go fuck yourself is what you can do.
Will you sign a copy of The Dark Knight?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, that'll do. That you've purchased. That's correct. That'll do.
It's worth the $20.
There you go.
Folks, we are running really late tonight, and I know certain individuals need to get some sleep. And you know what? I'm also that person too, because I got to work in the morning. It is great having the three of you
Old
on.
man over here is about to Grandpa Simpson on us soon.
If you guys are just joining now, these are the Geeks Co. They have a podcast every Thursday night on their YouTube, Geeks Co. They also have merch, which a lot of them are wearing right now. They have hats, they have shirts, they have hoodies, they have tons of apparel and accessories. Where can they find those, JS?
What are you wearing?
Geeksandcompany.ca.
Rob,
Jesse?
Rob.
No.
Do they have special
Oh,
shirts,
you know
JS?
Oh man,
He forgot. You're stuck in
I
it.
forgot.
You were this close. You were this close. We ran long.
If you're a fan of the Geek Boutique podcast and you would like to get yourself
Captain Daddy.
your
We
very
are
own Captain
taking
Daddy shirt,
Pre-orders.
make sure you drop me a comment. There's a brand new Captain Daddy design coming. Send me a comment if you'd like to get your hands on one. I will put you on the contact list so that I'll let you know when the actual design is done, so that you can pre-order your very own Captain Daddy shirt. Help support our buddies. I don't know which build, but you know what? We'll support any build of Jeff's.
Rob, I thought we were friends. I don't. That's the betrayal. The goddamn betrayal.
Perfect.
Oh yeah. Hey, let me do this again.
Take us out of here.
Bring
Mike,
attention to your cause.
Stop this shit. Take us
You
out.
can also find these guys on their own personal Instagrams and all that. They are down below in the description if you want to follow them. Why wouldn't you? These guys are all amazing cosplayers. They, as I said at the beginning, these guys are the heart and soul of the cosplay community in the Southern Ontario area. And I don't think I'm the only one in chat or in the area that would say that. So
Check in the mail, but check in the mail.
thank you very much. I really appreciate the three of you being on. I will definitely be having you guys back on again. Folks, my name is Myers Corp Cosplay. This is Monday Night Nerd. Have yourselves a good night, and we'll see you all very soon. Take care. Love you all. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.